you wanna clean your carburetors? Oh yeah you do, yeah you do. Oh yeah, baby, we're about to get these carburetors so clean, you're gonna wanna make them dirty again. Ha. Ah.
What is up, dudes? I am so excited to bring this video to you today. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We're gonna be going step by step. I'm gonna walk you guys through breaking down carburetors as basic and as simple as possible. This is not gonna be any kind of crazy tuning. There's nothing that I'm gonna be doing today that anyone couldn't do. So I'm gonna show you if you have carburetors that need to be cleaned. It really is way simple, even though this looks extremely complicated. I've got a very basic carburetor rebuild kits. It's just gonna have your float bowl gasket, a couple of O-rings for some of the different jets and whatnot, then a new float valve needle and seat. I may not replace the seats, and I'll show you why eventually, but if you are looking at carburetor kits that include the jets, I highly recommend that you do not get the jets. A lot of times what comes in the kits is garbage jets. They're not the right size, they're not manufactured perfectly, and with these being calibrated instruments of injecting fuel into your bike, we need to make sure that they're perfect. So what I like to do first is get some blue towels. You can get rags, you can get whatever you want, paper towels, lay them out in my workbench so that I have a nice clean, even though it's kind of dirty, clean area to work with. Some of the chemicals that you're gonna need is obviously either some kind of parts or carburetor cleaner. Today I'm actually trying something new. This is Berryman's B12 carburetor cleaner. It's got the spray. Second thing I like to use is Hops number 9 gun bore cleaner. You may have this lying around if you know you're a yeehaw, you got some guns at home. Cleans up metal really nicely. And then I also really like Blue Magic metal polish cream. This is what we're going to be using to polish the float seats in there, and I'll show you guys that. I mean, you can really polish all of them if you want, but whatever. As far as tools that you're going to need, I recommend having a couple of flat heads. One that's got, in particular, a very small head in order to get in there and remove the jets. We've also got JIS. In particular, I like to use Vessel. I have a set of Vessel tools. They make really excellent tools, but if this is something that you don't see yourself doing a lot in the future, you just want to get on Amazon, get online, go to your local hardware store, find a JIS set of screwdrivers, especially for Japanese carburetors. Other things that are really nice that are not necessary are dental picks, and this one in particular is just from Harbor Freight, and it's just a set of picks. I don't know where the rest of them are. Dental picks work really nice for getting deep in there, picking stuff away, pulling out hard to reach O-rings and things that get stuck up in there. We've got a 10 and an 8mm. Sometimes those main jets have a small little bit on there that you can take that out, makes it much easier. And then I've just got some brushes. I've got a brass tip, nylon tip, so that I can scrub away at the carbs and keep everything nice and clean. These are just the basics of what you need if you want to do your carburetors without having to constantly run to the store. I would go to the store, get these things, make sure you have them all set up. Give yourself some space here, and it's going to be super easy. So let's jump right into this. You got your cleaners, you got your towels, you got all your tools, you got your carburetor kits. Now we're just going to put some gloves on because I don't like my hands being all torn up by gas. Oh, another thing you might need is some sort of measuring. Like, you don't specifically need calipers, especially digital calipers, but some way to measure the floats, especially if they're adjustable floats. Some floats may not be adjustable. That's okay. Makes your life way, way, way easier. So I've already cracked all of the float bowl screws loose, but you may need to get an impact, because a lot of times these are going to be super tight on there. But let's go ahead and take all these off, and make sure you drain the gas too. You want to get all of the fuel out of this, because having a bunch of fuel, work in a well ventilated area so that you're not breathing in all them fumes, and then you end up like me, you got a couple of screws loose inside your brain, jumbled all around. You don't want to be like scrambled eggs, baby. This is the idle screw adjuster, and I think what I'll do, I'm just gonna go ahead and unscrew that. That's it. Make sure not to lose your little washer and spring that's there. Okay, this looks good. So I'm just gonna put that in there. If you're not as organized as me and you put something where you don't know where it's gonna be later, don't do that. bad habit. So how I like to set things up is keeping float bowls, screws, and this is why I give myself a sort of platform, and I'm just gonna keep everything lined up with the bowl, screws, all your jets, your float. You wanna keep things as organized as possible, especially if you've never done this before, because that's how easy it is to lose screws and parts like that. You definitely don't wanna be losing anything. They're actually super clean. I'm really surprised. I mean, the bike ran really good, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. This is a really good example, and I hope that the camera can pick it up. You can kind of see some of the stuff that's gathered on the rubber gasket here, this like just crust. That's how you really know that this gasket is shot, and that's why it's important to get yourself a decent gasket kit. I really like K&L. I've never had issues with their products. They make a fantastic gasket for carburetors and whatnot. And even just trying, this is why a pick comes in handy, trying to get this out, it's just no good. Yeah. And once you pull them out, you're gonna see all this stringy brown gunk that's on there. And this is why we've got the brass brush. Before we take the diaphragms off, I really like having the base to be able to flip this over and we can get a really good look at what's going on. I can see already that one of these floats is like messed up. Oh, the whole thing just came off. Holy cow. All right, that's bad. That's not normal. And I'm probably gonna sound stupid if I'm wrong here. I think this is the pilot, your main needle jet, and then looks like a secondary jet. I don't remember that one being in there, but you know, whatever. This screw up here at the top is going to be your mixture screw. And you can see in this one, it is very dark and it's full of fuel, which means that the O-ring in there is definitely no good. These floats in particular are held in by a screw. Then you can see the needle seat is in there, is also held in by the screw. So let's go ahead and take out the floats. And then we can get a better look at the seats and the needles. Needles just being held on by literally that little metal latch there. You could see the little rubber tip. That's what keeps the fuel sealed. And then we got your little doohickey bar here, whatever that's gonna keep the float in, so. Because of the age of these carburetors and the rest of the bike and what I've seen, I know that I want to at least pull these seats out and check on that gasket that's in there. Yeah, baby. Oh yeah, that was no good. Definitely super gross in there. Another very gross one. That one's really, really in there. I forgot to mention, an air compressor is super important to have if you're doing carburetors. Even if it's a small air compressor or some form of compressed air, you want to be able to blow out the stuff that's in your carburetors. Carburetor cleaner is fantastic, but actually being able to blow out the debris, this helps loosen it. This gets rid of it. What I'm doing is actually trying to blow in this crevice right in here and see if I can't loosen a little bit of the debris to give myself some space to be able to pull it out. It looks like we're gonna need heat for this. This is how carburetors very quickly get way more complicated. This is just a super cheap Harbor Freight heat gun that you can get for like 20 bucks. I'm gonna try and heat up these seats, see if we can't get them out a little bit easier. That was a hard sucker to get. Nope. Okay. Calls for heat. Go. This doesn't want to budge. Well, I think I've definitely crushed it, so I'm gonna have to use the new ones. You Son of a... Yes. Yes! You will be mine. You will. You will be mine. You dirty son of a... That's it. We're pulling out the big guns here. I mean, this is the big guns, but the gun with the thing on it. Whee! There, that was easy. Wow, that's bad in there. That's real bad. The gasket on the needle, float needle seat is just completely disintegrating. Like I said, super easy, not hard to do. Vice grips, you don't have them, you need to get them. Righto, now we've got the needles out of the way. It's lots of little metal shavings here. Let's go ahead and kind of a little, you know, don't look directly at the stuff as you're blowing the stuff up. You want to kind of maybe look away or wear safety glasses or whatever, but you know. When you're taking jets out, you want to make sure that the flathead that you're using is a really positive connection with the jet, whether it be a really small jet or a larger jet. You can see the diameter of each side is pretty wide. So you want to get as wide as you can as far as the blade goes and make sure that you don't have a ton of that back and forth motion. If you use something way too small, you've got, see how it's not even a positive connection. You've just got so much movement that you can easily strip out your jet, and that's just way more problems, as you can see, than you want to deal with. We're actually going to disconnect these from each other. This is two separate pieces here. Your needle jet and your main jet. Crack that off. I apologize for the fan sound. I totally forgot that this was on. I'm trying to keep it low. Beautiful, beautiful and gunky. Look at that O-ring. That used to be an O-ring. Look at that. It's hard as a rock and it's like flattened. Huh. Neat. So a good way to tell how clean your jets are is to look down them and see if you can see a light through them. Hold it up to the light, try and look through the jet and see if you can see the light. It's really fun sometimes when you can't see any light through them, then you know that they're definitely gunked up. And if you have a bike that'll run on choke, if it dies with throttle, it's probably your pilot system here. Let's go ahead and get that mixture screw out. So now that we've got all of our jets out, the last thing that we're gonna be taking out is the air fuel mixture screw. A lot of motorcycles are actually gonna have these plugged up, so if you don't see the screw, don't panic. You may see something like this where it's got the brass or some sort of plug over it. Don't even worry about it because it's not something you can get to. What you want to do before you take it out is actually spin it in and count how many turns. And I always do it by half turns or quarter turns. So I can see the angle of this one on here. And we're going to turn it in. Half, one, half, two, half, three, half. That's almost 4 turns out. So it's like 3 3/4. So what I'll do is, because this is about 3 3/4 turns out, I'm gonna write on my thing here 3 3/4, because I know when I install everything back in, that's what that was at. And then I can kind of go from there, especially if I want to tune it. Now, if you're not going to tune it, or if you know that you don't want to mess with your air fuel mixture screw, you feel like your bike's going to be all right, this is just a way to keep track of how many turns out each one was. So do the same for this one. They're not all going to be facing the same direction. You may have to start from a different direction. Based on these numbers here, the air fuel mixture on all of these carburetors is totally screwed up. We're going to make sure when we put this back together, I'm probably going to start at the stock 3 turns out, and where you can find that information is going to be either in a service manual. You might be able to look them online on forums and find out how many turns out your mixture screw should be, especially if you don't really plan on tuning it. If you're not going to be switching out jets or anything, you're just refreshing your carburetor. Start with 3 turns and then probably move up to 3.5. Bikes are always lean from the factory and you want it a little bit richer. Let's go ahead and take out all of these mixture screws now that we've counted. We know how stupid it is. And because they sit flush, can't really pull them out, so just gonna knock them out there. And what should be falling out, mixture, a spring, a washer, and an O-ring. And all I'm seeing right now is the springs and the mixture screws. So that means everything else is stuck in there, which is why it's very helpful to have a pick. Now, if you don't have something that small that can hook into there, try and get close. So you can see that I need this tiny little bitty hook so I can hook that O-ring and washer, and there's the washer. What you can do is actually take a small piece of wire, if you've got like safety wire or something even thinner than that. I'll show you real quick. Get that off. And all you're gonna do is make yourself a little tool here. So you're gonna take needle nose, take the very tip, bend it. You probably even do less. You just want to make yourself a little hook so that you can reach up in there. And that was obviously a little too fat, but there we go. The only thing that might really be stuck in there is that O-ring. And as we can see, a pattern with these O-rings is that they're just total garbage. So that is the inside of your carburetor float bowl, completely disassembled. That part is done. It's ready to be cleaned. It's ready to be scrubbed. You can see all of this buildup and disgusting dirt that has joined your carburetors. And what you can just do is, like I said, just take a brass, take a little bit of carburetor cleaner, and you don't want to get this stuff in your eyes. Definitely use safety goggles, but just gentle stream there. Get to scrubbing. I would say this stuff is it's not half bad. It's doing an okay job. I mean, that cleaned that spot up pretty well compared to the other side. Definitely use this in a ventilated area because that is foul. That is just foul smelling. Ugh. You want to keep this together. Like I said, you've got your mixture screw here. Then you've got your spring. You've got the washer. And then you've got your O-ring. And that goes in that order. That's all ready to be cleaned, replaced. We've got our kits here. So I'm going to go ahead and flip these over. Now, we're going to get into your diaphragms.